This is the Amazing Teacher Podcast with Sam Rangel, episode number 30.
Welcome to the Amazing Teacher Podcast, where we sit down with amazing educators and pick their brains for tips, strategies, and ideas that you can take into your classrooms and be amazing. Now, here's your host, Sam Rangel.
Welcome, amazing teacher, to the 30th episode of the Amazing Teacher Podcast. This is Sam from successintheclassroom.com. And I'm so grateful that you have taken time to download and listen to this podcast. It really means a lot to me that you're taking the time and you're listening, and hopefully you're finding a lot of value in my conversations with these amazing teachers. Today I have Dorina Sackman, the 2014 Florida State Teacher of the Year and one of the finalists for the National Teacher of the Year. I had such a great time picking Dorina's brain about teaching and education. You know, she's a middle school teacher, so as a former middle school teacher myself, we had so much to talk about. We spoke a lot about the importance of building positive relationships, and if you've heard any of my podcasts, you know that that's something that I really believe in. And I believe that it's something that's common among amazing teachers. You know, they focus on building those positive connections with their kids right off the bat, and it pays off all year long. Dorina just reinforces that here on the podcast. I was impressed and inspired by how far she goes to build those relationships. She has a survey that she gives out to her students at the beginning of the year that goes beyond just asking for the basic information. It asks for background and how they connected to the community and their family. She takes this information and then she goes out into the community itself to make the connection with the family and the community members. I thought that was just amazing. Dorina also shares about Believe, be the educators who lead to inspire and empower via excellence. It's her way to inspire teachers to have an impact and be effective. So listen for that. That's awesome. Awesome stuff right there. This was another very inspiring conversation with a truly amazing teacher. I know you will find this podcast full of value and full of great takeaways. So let's get right into the interview with 2014 Florida State Teacher of the Year, Dorina Sackman. Ready? Here we go. Today, I am so happy to have Dorina Sackman, the 2014 Florida Teacher of the Year, on the podcast. Welcome to the show, Dorina.
Thank you, Sam. Welcome. Yay.
Well, thank you again for taking time out of your day to sit down with me and just let me pick your brain and share your thoughts and inspiration with our audience. It's really a great opportunity for all of us.
Oh, this is exciting. It's wonderful, especially new teachers out there listening to these great podcasts. And I've had other friends and state teachers of the year and other colleagues doing this, and it's an amazing resource. So I'm just so honored to be a part of it. So thanks, Sam.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you. Well, before we begin, Dorina, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your teaching career, how you got into teaching, and maybe why you became a teacher?
Sure. Basically, I am your typical Floridian who came from New York, as all Floridians are now. Unfortunately, we apologize in advance. But I was born and raised in New York from a father who was New York's finest, who turned attorney, and a stay-at-home mom who actually returned to school at 40 to become a teacher when we were all grown up. And that was a very big part of my reasons to be a teacher. But what I really loved is that my father, being a New York City cop, always exposed his three children, my brother, my sister, and I, to such a world out there and such multiculturalism. And my mother as well, not just in her cooking, but always wanted to expose us to what was out there. And I think that had a lot to do with my choices to become an ESOL teacher. And it was just fantastic. But becoming a teacher and my teaching career of 16 years of teaching, well, the first thing is that how I started it. It basically started when I moved to Boston for personal reasons of my high school sweetheart that didn't pan out after 10 years. And my mother turned around and said, "You speak 5 languages at the age of 24. And it's about time that you use them, not just in the retail industry where I was managing Victoria's Secret, actually, in Boston. She said, stop telling the tourists in their languages what bra to buy, and why don't you use it for the best advantage possible, which is to help children. Do you know about ESOL? And I said, of course I do. And she said, go get your master's right now. And I said, okay. So my mother told me, and I did at the University of Massachusetts, Boston. I got my master's in ESOL, bilingual education and applied linguistics. And my first teaching gig was actually a third and fourth grade bilingual Portuguese class in Boston Public Schools. And it was phenomenal. I loved it. And then I went from the babies to the biggies, and I taught in Boston Public Schools, always in Title I, my favorite thing ever. And I taught in high school in Boston Public Schools until in 2005, I moved to Florida after my grandmother told me the reason I was single is I didn't know how to cook. And so she said, after my grandfather passed away, she said, you need to come down to Florida. I'll teach you how to cook, and then you'll get married. I said, thanks, Nonna. I'll do the best I can. But it was the greatest thing ever because I did learn how to cook, and I did meet a fabulous man who actually does all the cooking. But besides that, I digress. I actually had a wonderful job at Jackson Middle School, and that's where my passion is, with middle schoolers, 8th grade, Title I, ESOL babies. My gosh, do I love it. And I haven't looked back ever since. Just love what I do.
Wow.
Yeah.
That so many connections that I see when my first teaching experience. I was a sub and I hated it because every day was a different group of kids, and I started in middle school because I looked too young for high school, and I didn't have the patience for the little elementary kids. But so I was in middle school, and I hated the idea of going and being a teacher because I was using the sub experience as everything that I knew about teaching. So, but finally I got this long-term position in an ESL class. Back then it was called ESL.
Yes, it still is in other places. Exactly.
Okay, and that's where everything happened. That's where I realized that this is what I was meant to do. It's just that those kids were amazing, and they inspired me to be a teacher, and that was the beginning of my career. And I spent my whole career has been in middle school. That's my area where I can't see myself being anyplace else. They're just a unique group of kids that have unique needs that I think it takes a unique person to be a middle school teacher. Would you agree?
I can't agree with you anymore. And one of the biggest things about middle schools, people always say, oh, you have your ticket to heaven. You have
Yeah.
And I said, it's really not that. Like you said, it takes a unique person. But I really believe it's with children, you have to really know children. I myself don't have any. Hopefully someday I'll be blessed. But at this point, I don't, and I don't understand young children. When it comes to high school, they have that, excuse the pun, the sophomoric attitude.
Mm-hmm.
But yet in the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, you still have these beautiful minds that are still vulnerable on their way to make their own choices. And it's a perfect time to empower them to empower themselves. And they're so needy, if you will. So they feel they need you, but then you want to, almost like the mama bird that wants to push them out of the nest.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I feel I am with those babies. And specifically in Title I, that's another thing. It takes a unique individual and a specific person to stay in Title I, because Title I is a culture within itself. And the most successful Title I schools have the teachers that know it. And they know that that's what they want, and they'll never go anyplace else.
Yeah, very true. Very, very true. It's just so cool to speak with another middle school teacher. Not that high school teachers or elementary teachers are they're just a different kind of uniqueness when teaching middle school. Very good, very good.
Just wanted to tell you how exactly the thing in your heart with middle schools, but also with ESOL. I love ESOL so much that I wound up teaching it on the college level. I wound up volunteering to teach. I would go overseas to teach. I would do everything in every age group in order to teach the English language to those as a second or foreign or third language, as some of our students have. And I just have that dynamic and that bunch of, oh my gosh, it just makes you feel so incredible as a teacher, because the desire to learn and to learn so much about the world through the eyes of these children and adults is just one of the most rewarding things anyone could ever have.
Well, your passion shows through in the way you speak about teaching, and it's evident. And your kids, they have someone special teaching them. I can see that right now.
Ah, thanks.
Well, again, well, first of all, I forgot to congratulate you for being the Teacher of the Year of Florida. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And the question I have to ask, and I asked that of all the award winners that I've had on the podcast, what was it like to meet the president?
Well, it was the whole experience. I mean, I can't begin to tell you just meeting the state teachers of the year and then becoming one of the 4 national finalists for teacher of the year was absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I just still can't believe that I was in the company of Sean McComb, our national teacher of the year, Melissa Porfirio, and Ryan Devlin. I mean, just these unbelievable teachers from Virginia, Pennsylvania, and Maryland. And there I am, being this finalist and then being this representing the whole state of Florida to meet the president. I'm so excited. And I learned a lot about myself that day. I definitely did, which is if I could give anybody advice, it's you really do need to take in the moment. Sometimes the moment can take over you because it's so surreal. And I wish I did what I watched a couple other state teachers of the year do this, such as Katie Brown from Washington and Lucas Foley from Vermont. They went outside, they looked outside the White House windows, and they just looked outside into the Rose Garden while they were waiting for their opportunity to meet the president in that 25, 30 seconds. And I think they stopped and reflected at that one moment. And I just was the Tasmanian devil on crack going, picture here, picture there, yes, 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 yes. And I just was all over the place because I was so excited about the moment. I got too nervous and hyper that I didn't take it in. And the moment I met the president, this is one thing I will give anybody advice. If you have something, you're at a loss for words for the president, discuss basketball. At the moment that I met the president, all he wanted to talk about was the Miami Heat in the finals because it was around that time. And I got nervous and wanted to talk about the Florida State Seminoles football team, the champs, and how they were just invited to the White House. So at the moment we just started talking, he wanted to talk basketball. I wanted to talk football. There we are for 25 seconds. And it was the greatest moment to say, we're about to shake hands. And he said, well, what grade do you teach? And at the moment I'm about to say 8th with the TH to enunciate, the picture, the man turned around and said, time to take the picture. And as I did, it looks like my tongue is sticking out when I'm So needless to say, it won't be my Christmas card. But I just want to say, no, that's not how I feel about him. I just said 8th grade. So it was a really funny moment, but very surreal. And, you just know that you're representing all these teachers in Florida. I mean, 189,000 teachers in the state of Florida who are the most amazing, dedicated individuals. And you're the one who's the face of those teachers. And you just say, my goodness. And it's just a great experience.
Wow, that's amazing. That picture, that's funny. That's a funny story.
One heck of a picture.
Oh my goodness! Well, congratulations again. Well deserved, and that's just so cool. So cool. That's why I like asking the question because it's just really cool for teachers to be honored like that. And again, congratulations.
Thank you.
I noticed on your blog and as well as on your Twitter information, you have the word believe. With the letters, separated by periods. Can you explain that to us? Because I know that's pretty cool what you have there.
Thanks. Yeah, it's actually the theme for the 2013-2014 school year, and the 2014 Teacher of the Year event was Believe. And knowing that it's sponsored by Macy's and the Florida Department of Education, they have a theme every year. This year it's Lead, and last year it was Believe. And at the time that I became one of the 5 finalists and I was on the stage and they were about to announce it, we were told that we have 30 seconds to speak and that's it, because the 2013 Florida Teacher of the Year, my very dear friend Alex Lopez, spoke for 4 minutes and 31 seconds. And so they said, you have 30 seconds to say what you have to say and then get off the stage. You're done. So I took that to heart and said, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? And being nervous and being, apprehensive about everything and what should I say, I remembered a strategy I used with my ESOL students who happen to get very excited. And any teacher can use this. a child who gets very excited or very upset very quickly, you give them any specific word, any word, and they have to create an acronym out of that word. Because what it does is that it uses a portion of your brain that actually calms your brain down where chemicals get released. And so I use that with my students to calm them down, and it's an academic way to put them in the right mindset, if you will. So I said, well, I should do the same thing. The theme is believe. What am I going to do? I have no idea. And before you know it, my name was called by Governor Scott, and I went, and then I said, we all must believe. And at that moment, Sam, in all honesty, it came out of my mouth to be the educators who live to inspire and empower via excellence. And it just happened, and everyone started to clap. But as the year went on, I began to change as well as the theme changed, because it's not just to BELIEVE, be the educators who live to inspire and empower via excellence. It's now be the educators who lead to inspire and empower via excellence, because that's what we really are. We're teacher leaders. And that's what I decided to change it to. And I've coined the phrase, I've actually trademarked it. And I have believe pins and believe everything. And those are my gifts when I go around to the state and around the nation and do conferences. And I give them out to all the teachers as a reminder for them all to just believe in who they are and what they do.
Wow, that is so cool. That is awesome. Not only the believe acronym that you created, but also that strategy to get your students to calm down. I'd never heard of that.
Yeah, it's a wonderful strategy, but it first started as a strategy just to get students to focus on words, because I teach ESOL, obviously, but it really is. I can definitely send a link for the research to show how that really helps with students. It's a wonderful way, and adults as well. The moment you're nervous, perhaps you don't like to fly and you feel a form of anxiety or perhaps a panic attack coming, you take about 5 breaths and you actually just think of a large word, and then you try to find an acronym with that word, and you will actually rid yourself of a lot of anxiety.
Wow. That is awesome. That is awesome. I think that's one great takeaway for our audience right there. Use that. That's a great lesson. Just
Good.
to start the year. You talk about you can make an acronym of yourself, which we've done that before. But I like the idea of pulling a word in that has meaning, like believe. Great idea. Great idea.
Thank you.
I noticed on your website that you have a quote, and I thought this is pretty cool, and I had to ask you about it. It says, "You need to know your students' stories before you can teach them."
hmm
Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, it's I think one of the biggest parts, everyone talks about rigor and relevance and all of those things, but there really should be talking also about relationships.
Hmm.
And I think one of the most prominent forms of success for teachers that happen to be successful teachers, not just in numbers and making gains, but also in building that rapport with students that last forever, is obviously the relationship that they're going to build with the student. And the only way I can do that is to truly get to know them. And what I do basically is the first couple of days of school, I will have this survey, and it's a 3-part survey in which the student has to answer the questions, a parent or guardian, and then someone from their community, because a lot of my students are involved in their churches, synagogues, mosques, temples, or some other religious institution, because a lot of our immigrant children seek refuge in a place in which their community resides. And so of course, they will find usually religious institutions are the places, if not community centers. So I have those students do that in their native language and use Google Translate. And then to the best of my ability, I can assess using the computer and using that technology, how well they speak in their first language, how well they write, as well as how well they can communicate with others, meaning their parents, the guardians, and the other community members, if there are. With that, I get some background knowledge of those students, and I get to know what they like and what makes them tick and why they're here. I mean, we have students who have come here on political asylum, natural disaster, subjected to increasing threats of child kidnapping. There's wars, there's divorce, where mom is one place, dad is another.
Hmm.
They're constantly moving because of the economy, all these different things. And cultural and psychological challenges of our English language learners. And the best thing for you to do is to know about them, to know their stories, to really reach out. And that's how I know it, because each child has a different, unique situation. You know, they're all this, I don't know how to explain it. I call them, my children, the mosaic. It's the beautiful mosaic that makes up my classroom, with each child's unique color and personality. And that mosaic and that beautiful story that each of them have to tell will allow me to understand them. After I understand them, I infuse it into my classroom, our classroom, by putting things, for example, if they love Ronaldo and they love soccer, of course, I'll have a total section on soccer. If they love anything, any music, any specific, or if they love baseball or a specific artist or gymnastics, I will make sure that I know. And a couple of my students from Bangladesh love jump roping. And so we all went outside and we jump rope together. And there's so many things you can do first, and then you infuse all of that into your lessons. And then the students will make a direct connection and trust you a lot more. And that trust factor is what takes you to win those kids over.
Amazing, amazing. That idea of building relationships, it seems to be one of the common threads of all the guests I've had, the importance of building relationships. Jeff Baxter, who was...
What a man.
Yeah,
Oh,
isn't he?
oh
Yeah,
my
isn't he?
gosh. I can listen to that man. He truly, I look at him with awe, in awe. Oh, what a man.
Yeah, I was totally blown away with the and he's was in the last podcast that I recorded, and he just full of greatness, inspiration. And one of the things he said was, rigor without relationship is just mean.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that's right on. Right now, the whole focus now is rigor in a lot of places, and which is good. But without those relationships, you're just being mean. And I think that's a great another takeaway, to build those relationships. But first, get those stories. I was listening to one of my district officials in a recent in-service, and his advice was, get the stories, get the stories. And so many times I have kids in my office who, they're in trouble, and they tell me what's going on at home, and I can understand why they're acting up in the class, because they got so many things going on. And I think if teachers would take the time to get those stories, they would understand the kids better. And then on top of that, like you said, infuse what you learn about those kids into the lessons. Imagine the buy-in, and imagine the amount of motivation you're going to have with these kids. They'll do your work just because, not because of you, but because it's something that they enjoy. What a great advice there. And I love that quote.
Oh, thanks. And it really is, it takes a lot. And sometimes people go above and beyond. And that's really what the other part of it is when you go to those communities, when I have those surveys, I go out to those churches, synagogues, mosques, and community centers, and I present for the community, and I present to them the importance of education. And I have translators. I'm very blessed to speak 5 languages, so I can go out there and do it myself. But I have other people in the community who will help me as well, so that, because it takes a village. And when we get out there, all of a sudden the parents trust you more. So much so that I had a table outside. I looked like Lucy from the Peanuts, with this little sign that says Miss Sackman's teacher. And then I have a list of the students' names. And then all of a sudden the parents are lining up, and I have my parent conferences once a month at their religious institutions. And that's when you get the real phone numbers, and you get the real email addresses. And then you do home visits if it's allowed by your district. And the vulnerability of them allowing you into their homes and into their hearts, you're done. You have everybody involved in the education of your children.
Wow, that is awesome. That is awesome. Great.
Thank you.
And I love that image of the mosaic. The
Yes.
mosaic. And it just doesn't have to be the ESOL class. It could be any class, because every class has stories.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
I think that's awesome. Going to the neighborhood and connecting with the families. We need more of that. We need more of that. I think that is one way to really make the school a learning center for not just for the kids, but for the community.
Yes, because it should be the center, I
Mm-hmm.
really, it's always, you see the pictures of the steeple with the church, and then you
Mm-hmm.
see all that's the center of town, where the center of town should be an educational institution where parents and community members and stakeholders feel comfortable going in and saying, what can I do? And then the kids should be doing all types of community service from age 5 to age 17, where we create character and not curriculum, and heart, not just homework. And we have them out in the community so people see our kids, not just our ESOL, any children, and say, wow, this is what it's about. Now I see what's happening.
So true, so true. And just I know we're talking a lot about this, but and I don't know how much I want to just talk forever. But there is something that's been kind of bothering me is that a lot of our the parents of our who don't speak English,
Hmm.
they're kind of intimidated of coming into the schools
Yes.
because maybe someone in the office doesn't speak their language, or if we have to sometimes get the custodian to come be the translator, and
Hmm.
that is not fair, not fair to the kids. And so, I'm blessed to be able to speak Spanish as well as English, and I find myself using Spanish almost every day in
Hmm.
my position. And sometimes I wonder about other schools that don't have someone in the office who speaks Spanish. How do they connect with these parents who want the best for their kids? They just don't have the access.
And that's where you have to think of, there's two things. A lot of times there's the innocently ignorant, which is the majority of the hardworking people at our schools,
Hmm.
in which a lot of times those are the people who really don't understand the various cultures joining our communities, and they're innocently ignorant to the multiculturalism that's happening in our schools, in our world, and in our education system. But then you have these arrogantly ignorant. So there's the two. And those are the unfortunate increasing number of individuals who choose not to learn about the beauty of diversity and embracing differences. And this really drives me. It drives me to get out there to all the schools now, and to see if these people are going to embrace this difference. So if I educate my children to communicate in English, and I educate as many people as I can to use technology to try to get out there and understand and make the parents feel comfortable. It's already hard enough for them to be there for them to feel comfortable. Then I know that every single one of their cultures can be represented, and then my students will be fueled with knowledge and armed with a voice, and so will their parents, and no one can take that from them.
Right. Wow. Wow. Excellent. Very, very. Now that's inspiring. That's inspiring, Dorina. Thank you for that.
Thanks, Sam.
Well, getting back to the podcast, the purpose of the podcast is to sit down with amazing teachers like yourself and pick their brains for tips, strategies, and ideas that new teachers can take into their classrooms and be amazing. Yeah, and I think you've already shared so much with the audience that they can take into the classroom and have an impact. But I know that in your experience, you've run across many amazing teachers. Can you give us maybe some qualities or characteristics of these amazing teachers that are common among them?
Oh, that's a tough one. It's let's see. Whew. What are some qualities that make an amazing teacher? Passion, compassion, honesty, integrity, the infinite cheerleader, finding the positive in the midst of uncertainty, a natural born leader, find themselves within their work, as well as helping children find themselves within their own, letting them their own self shine through. Of course, building the relationships. But I will say, one of the things that really stand out the most is vulnerability. Brene Brown is an author of The Power of Vulnerability, and she talks a lot about it. And I think it's imperative that teachers humanize themselves in front of students. And Jeff Baxter is a perfect example of that. Oh, I just love that man. And um, when you are vulnerable and humanize yourself in front of students, that is also when the students allow themselves to become vulnerable and open up. And when they do, their hearts open up, their minds will open up twofold. And I think that that's something that makes excellence in teachers. And the other thing definitely is, with the amazing teachers that I have met in my experiences, is they are also having a balance. They balance themselves, they balance their life, they also think outside the box, and they also go outside the box. So that's the big thing. They find ways to make it work. And in this profession, a lot of times teachers have a tendency to be on the defense with valuation systems and value-added models, and from all of the different things that are being asked of teachers now, and the teacher incentive pay and all those different things. Sometimes we get defensive, and I often tell other teachers in my presentations that, especially in football, being a Florida State fan, that the Florida State football team won because they were a team that played offense. They were constantly passing on their side. A team that is very good in defense only prevents others from scoring. The teams that are powerful with offense are the ones that actually score for themselves. We as teachers must be the ones who are on the offense. If we get too defensive, we're never going to get accomplished. We're never going to be accomplished or accomplish the things we would like to see in our profession. But as leaders on offense, we can actually say, I'm throwing you a pass now. Here you go. This is what's going on. This is what we need to get done. And I think that's another way that makes an amazing teacher. They find their platforms and they think outside the box. They become leaders and they advocate for the profession. It's absolutely amazing.
Wow. Go on the offense.
Go on the offense. That's it. And don't, just don't be defensive about it. Well, they have to do this, and then they're going to come and observe. Take every. I am the Florida Teacher of the Year and a national finalist for Teacher of the Year, and I am not a highly effective teacher. My score came out as effective, and I'm so proud of that. Because we need to be effective teachers. My highly effective is taking my students to football games who have never been, to taking my students to the rivers and lakes that they missed when they were in Bangladesh, taking my students outside the confines of the four walls of our classroom and watching them grow and, yes, make learning gains, but then become these global citizens that give back to the community. If my numbers say that I'm an effective teacher, I've done it. My highly effective is what I just described. And I think that if we have that balance as an educator, that makes an amazing teacher.
That's great. That is so cool, Dorina. Being effective, having an effect, making
yes,
making things happen. Very good, very good. Thank you for that. Awesome. Well, many new teachers and even some veteran teachers struggle with classroom management. And what advice would you give a new teacher who might be struggling with that tough class?
The first thing that we talked about actually is establish early on the relationship. Mm-hmm. The 3-page survey that I do to get to know the kids. Again, it is the relationship, getting out there, talking to the parents, going out there, like I mentioned, to the communities. Also the trust factor with the parents. It used to be called Remind 101, but now it's called mm-hmm. Remind. And that's one of my favorite things as well, because that's my form of quote unquote discipline. My students, I never, ever call an administrator unless it's something that's really, really, really in need of an administrator, because the best people to assist in putting our students where they need to be academically and socially, if there's ever a challenge, are their parents, and they know it. And so when I have this amazing communication with parents as to my rules and regulations in my classroom, and discuss it with my principal and discuss it with my district to ensure that I'm not breaking any rules, I have relationships with my students that if they get unruly in the class, it's a very simple text message to their parents. And it works really easy in my class. And I do it through soccer. I have a yellow card and a red card. And that's all I need to do. The students know the universal symbol. You hold up a yellow card and you know that means you gotta calm down. Mm-hmm. And I'll even get students going, "Ay, Missy, no, yo no hacía nada." Like, they're so cute. Like, I didn't do anything. And they put their hands like they're making that sound like the way that the Italian soccer players do. And it's hysterical. But then they see it and then I document it. So now I have something documented and it's very subtle. And then all of a sudden, if the student again continues to be unruly, it's a second yellow, and they know what that means. The red card simply means, in that tiny little composition book that I'll have in my pocket because I wear a lab coat every day, and in my pocket, I notate what happened, and then I text their parents the simple words, red card, and I let the parents deal with it at that night. Yep. And that's all I do. And I have had very little red cards. And the students love it because they know it's very simple. Yellow, yellow, red, boom, you're done. And they know they don't want it because they know there's a consequence, which is the family. And if there's, some people will say, well, not all parents are like that. Well, then that's when you work with the safe coordinators and work with your administration and you work it out yourself. But the level of respect that the students have for me and the level of respect I have for them early on, there is very little discipline issues in my classroom.
So 2 words, red card.
Red card. That's it. That's the
okay.
text.
So you don't yell and you don't do these
Never.
long lectures in front of the class.
Now you have in your pocket, you have the official, I go to the soccer locker, I got my official cards, and I look like the ref, and I'll put it right up there. And some people will say, well, some people don't like soccer. Believe it or not, when I did not teach the ESOL classes, I did flags on the play. And I took the actual flags from football or lacrosse, and I put flags on the play. And when there was an issue, I put a flag on the play. And then the flag went up, and they knew that there was an issue. And that's when you establish this routine, and you never break from the routine, the students will know it. You can't mess with Miss Sackman. And the good part about it is that they love you so much and they see you love them. That's why they love you back. They don't want to do anything bad. Sometimes they know not what they do. Yeah. That's when the yellow card goes up. But man, establish that beautiful love for those kids early on. You've got them the whole year.
Yeah, that is so cool and so typical of amazing teachers. They don't have to yell. They don't have to humiliate or raise their voice. It's all about that relationship. You don't want to disrespect, or you don't want to break that relationship between your teacher. So you don't want to do anything that's going to mess things up between you and your teacher. That's so cool. That's again great advice for new teachers. Build that relationship.
Nice.
Do you have a favorite quote that maybe has inspired you as a teacher?
I have so many quotes, but because we work a lot with this particular amazing individual that has inspired so many of my students to become global citizens and better people in our society, it's Malala Yousafzai's peaceful but powerful urging to people. She says, let us pick up our books and our pens. They are our most powerful weapons. One teacher, one book, one pen can change the world. Education is the only thing. Education first.
Nice. Very nice. Wow. Great interview, Dorina. I'm so glad that I had a chance to talk to you. I know we're going long, but this is so good. So I apologize for
I am enjoying every minute of it talking to you. I could talk to you for hours now.
Yeah, me too. It's great. Well, if you could sit down with a new teacher just starting out in their career and you had only time for one piece of advice, what would that advice be?
Ooh, I only have one. You can tell I talk a lot, so it's going to be hard for me. But I would tell them to watch the TED Talk of Simon Sinek's Start With Why. And I would also tell them to get Simon Sinek's The Golden Circle, to understand his book, Start With Why, and ask them about the Golden Circle. And basically what I would tell them is the Golden Circle is starting with why you are here as a teacher. Then why is really what it's all about. Why is your passion? How is the process that will maintain that passion? And what is the result of your passion? And that's really what we have to remember as teachers, because there's so many other things, especially for new teachers. I mean, I was just in a school with 3 new teachers today, and they were so overwhelmed with paperwork and what's expected and Marzano and this and that they became so overwhelmed, they were losing the whole purpose. They became a teacher in the first place. And when I tell them this golden circle needs to be thought of, I mean, he was genius in thinking of this. If you really just get back to, and always, every minute, why you became a teacher in the first place, why you love your subject matter, why you teach math, why you teach history, what is the reason you're there? And then, or what are the reasons you're there that fuel that passion? That will help you then by then going to how and not what. Too often than not, we do, what do we do? How do we do it? And why? That's conventional educators. Remarkable educators do, why do we do it? Then how, and then what is the result? And if we can make that, just that little shift, oh my gosh, that first year teacher will look like a complete, no more rookies, would look complete a perfect teacher, a veteran teacher that's been teaching for 5, 6, 7, 8 years.
Wow, that is awesome. Why, how, and then what?
Yes.
Great. I love TED Talks. The one have you heard Rita Pearson? TED
No.
Talk. Oh, she's amazing. She's already passed, but I showed that to my staff at my. It just again gives you that inspiration to remind us why we do what we do.
Yes.
I will definitely put.
Oh, Rita Pearson, Every Kid Needs a Champion.
Yeah.
Okay. I just remember Every Kid Needs a Champion.
Right.
That's the
That
one. God bless.
that was amazing. But
Yes.
I would definitely put a link to that TED Talk
Oh yeah.
on the show notes underneath the podcast, so that they can take a look at that. Great.
Yes.
So, Dorina, what is happening now that you are excited about?
Oof. What I'm excited about? Well, there's two wonderful things I'm excited about. Besides talking to Sam Rangel here. This is fantastic. But I have a new position. I was just asked to be a senior administrator of professional development services for English language learners at the Orange County Public Schools ELC building, where I will actually be writing professional development to ensure our teachers meet the needs of our English language learners, as well as we assist teachers to give them the best strategies possible to reach our kids and make them feel comfortable, because a lot of teachers truly feel, oh, what do I do? And they love the kids, but they don't know how. And so that's pretty much what I will be doing, and going around to schools and empowering teachers to ensure that they're really doing the right things and let them know that they are. And I just absolutely love the fact that I'm traveling around to different teachers and recruiting new teachers to become trainers of these ESOL endorsement courses and trainings, and creating teacher leaders. And that's really what I love, is that taking the experts within our school systems and saying, why are we paying all this money for professional development when the PD is right here? So finding the fortes of every single teacher and say, what can you present for our teachers? What strategies for English language learners? What strategies for our special needs children? Which strategies for math? For what would you do for social media? And have the teachers do the presentations. That's really big, and creating more teacher leaders. And that's an exciting, exciting new journey for myself. I miss the classroom, but I'm excited. And I'm so honored that after the Florida Teacher of the Year has finished August 1st, I created a company called Believe LLC because of speaking engagements. And they have been asking and asking for me to speak, doing my presentations and on empowerment and motivational speaking for educators. And I'm traveling all around the world, actually, 22 speaking engagements this year. And I can't believe it.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
well,
can't believe it.
wow, well, that's amazing. Congratulations on all that, Dorina. That is awesome. And the idea that you're going to be sharing, yeah, your expertise and your inspiration with new teachers and other teachers out there, just like cloning yourself out there with for our kids is amazing. So thank you for that. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to share with the audience before we say goodbye?
Well, yes, I would like and I want to wish every single educator the most incredible year this year. I hope that you fill it with the experiences that you've had before, or what you've learned if you're a new teacher. I hope you all speak out for the things you believe in and advocate for your kids. Never be afraid to be vulnerable and reach out to learn from each other, and don't isolate yourselves and close your doors, because there's so much out there that we could learn. Everybody should get on Twitter. They should start blogging. They should really tell their stories, because there's so many teachers out there that have such great ideas and they don't even realize it until they get it out there. And just never ever lose the passion for your kids and the subject. And of course, be the educators who lead to inspire and empower via excellence.
Awesome. That is so cool. Well, Dorina, thank you again for taking the time to speak with me and share your thoughts with the audience. It has been truly a great pleasure speaking with you. And again, another one of those inspirational podcasts that I just don't want to say goodbye. But thank you so much again, relighting that fire within me, and I'm sure within the audience.
That is just, oh, you make me feel so good, because that's what it's all about. I think everyone should just know that it's out there, and I hope everyone just enjoys it and learns something from it. And I can't wait to learn from other teachers as well. It's just a great opportunity. Thank you so much, Sam.
Well, thank you. My pleasure. So to the listeners, I know you have received a lot of great information and inspiration in this episode. Now it's up to you to take it back into your classroom and implement what you learned today. So until next time,
be amazing.
The Amazing Teacher Podcast is brought to you by successintheclassroom.com. Learn more about being an amazing teacher by visiting successintheclassroom.com or theamazingteacher.com.